Hey, this is Brannon Jones, author of the award-winning College Readiness 101 workbook series, here with another episode of the College Readiness 101 podcast. Now, today I have a very special guest, one of my very close frat brothers, somebody I went to college with who is doing his thing in higher education, Dr. Terence Turner. Dr. Turner.
Jones, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm Dr. Terence Turner. Like Mr. Jones said, we had an amazing opportunity in our youth to attend college together. We old now. So I think what makes this an honor, such an honor, is that now we're on this side of it, and we've allowed ourselves to use our career interests and passions to really help students. So, Jones, I'm excited to be here today to talk about, transitioning.
Yeah. I'm very excited because you were somebody I was waiting. I couldn't wait to talk to you about coming on. So I'm glad I was able to get on your schedule, man. So for those listeners and those who are going to be watching on YouTube, for those who don't know you or know about you, kind of tell us a little bit about you so they can know who they're listening to.
Sure. So, like I said, Dr. T is what I go by. I have been at FAMU for 3.5 years now. I've been in higher education a little over 10. I've worked in North Carolina, Texas, and now here at Florida. And in those 10 years of my career, a lot of my experience has been in housing and student retention and, things that really get students acclimated to what this whole experience is going to look like.
Yeah. And I love your journey, man. I'm so glad again that I got a chance to get you today. So we're going to talk about transitions. So I know you have 3 tips for those students who are going to be coming from high school and coming onto a college campus. You have a lot of experience on college campuses. So I want to kind of give these students and parents some tips of what they should be doing or how they should transition through this process. So I'll give you three tips that we can give to these students and parents.
Sure. So my first tip is going to be do your homework.
Do your homework. Okay.
Do your homework. So it's important to do your research about where you're going, right? Mm-hmm. So people are going to be at various points in the journey, whether they've made their mind up about college, a particular college, or they're still doing their researching. But that research is really going to help you make some well-informed decisions. I say do your homework because your journey is not going to be the same as everybody else's. So you have to have an honest conversation about finance, proximity, the academics, right? That's the main thing. How is this degree going to help you toward your goals? And, as we talk about goals, having some SMART goals, I think is very critical as well. So you're not just at college wasting time, but more importantly, wasting money.
Yeah. That's one of the things I talk about in my workbook series. We have SMART goals. We talk about SMART goals, setting those goals where you can actually, judge your future off of it, right? You can actually measure those things that you're doing. And so doing your research or doing your homework is definitely for number one. And that's for students and parents, right? So this is a transition for parents as well. So do your homework. That's a phenomenal first one. So, all right. So we got that. What is tip number 2 that you have for students and parents?
Sure. So I'd say tip number 2, you've done your homework with tip number 1. Now create a game plan, right? Figure out how you want to navigate this whole experience. There's some financial investments, obviously. There's some emotional investments, whether you're staying close, going away. What does that look like now that your student is an adult? Are they still going to have a curfew? Things like that. Yeah. I think also creating a game plan about what do they want year 1 to look like, right? So, Jones, I think it's interesting. I often see students who were super involved in high school and try to maintain the same cadence and energy when they get to college. And it's hard because now you're getting adjusted to independence, academic rigor, new social environments where K through 12, it gets easier, right? Mm-hmm. And it was something that you were able to master with a lot of resources. So creating that game plan gives you some targets you can hit in terms of, okay, this is what's going to happen year 1. I really want to do these 3 to 4 things, whether it's clubs and organizations Are you going to work? Again, that's some of that research that has to take place. But I think also having a game plan allows you to have something to aspire towards, and it holds you accountable that you're working toward something. So if you have, interest in doing different organizations, they often require GPAs. Well, if you're not going to class, you're not taking care of the part that you can control, right? So, I think that game plan allows you to give yourself a framework, some structure, so you're not just out here all willy-nilly just doing any and everything, and you're burned out by November and ready to come home.
It's interesting that you say that, because when I was working on the college campus as well, I was in retention. And even with some of the smaller schools that I was working in, I was in retention. And I had to get students to that 45 credit hour level, right? So what we found out was that if I can get them to a year and a half, then things seem to be easier for them to stay in school after that year and a half. And that's where that game plan comes in, right? Like you said, everybody knows, that girl that was at college, and she got wild, and now she has a reputation, and she had to transfer out. Or that guy that fell in with the wrong crowd. He was gullible or this or that, and things didn't work out for him. So we want to try to make sure that students and parents have conversations about what college is going to look like, what it's going to feel like outside of academics, to be a part of that game plan.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. I definitely agree with you on that. Okay. All right. So we got one more. You said we got the two that you got going on. Number one was to do your homework.
Right.
Number two was to create your game plan. What's number three?
Both parents and students have to be patient and adaptable.
All right.
So everybody's going to college, right? So it's not just, hey, my student is doing this now, it's on them, which is true in theory, but you have to broaden your scope a bit to include how are parents adjusting to their student being away, not talking to them all day. Parents, I think, often worry about, well, did what I teach is what I taught them manifesting in their daily decision making, right? So everybody has to be patient, right? The student has to be patient because it is at least a 4-year journey, right? So you're not going to know yourself fully that first year. Your interests are going to change, right? You're not going to be deep in your major by the end of that first year. So again, when we talk about that adjustment from high school to where it's either fast-paced, easy, and you're able to take on a lot, college is designed to be an experience that you cultivate over time. So your identity development, your social development, your academic interests. I wish I had the data in front of me, but just thinking about how many students change majors, right? How many students selected a major because that's what their parents told them to do. You want them to be, a scientist, but they hate math. So what are they going to do now, right?
Talking about that all the time,
right? Or they have liberal arts interests where they want to, do music and things like that. But no, you told them since they were 6, no, you're going to be daddy's lawyer. You're going to be, mommy's, dentist, right? Well, no, this is their journey, right? And we talk about it. And Jones, you do a lot of programming and providing resources around what that looks like for families. So being patient and adaptable, and being okay with not liking something, right? So you may get involved with some things that you don't necessarily like, hey, I liked the band in high school, but now I see that it's a big commitment here in college. So I'm going to find something else to do, right? So that patience and adaptability really helps you not burn out, right? Because I think that's a lot of what happens with our students. You talk about getting them to that credit hour mark. But if they've been doing this for 18 years, let's say 12 with the K through 12 system, now it's time to just kind of ease into it and just see the options are a bit broader than they were in K through 12. You're choosing your own adventure now, right? So and it's likely you're away from home doing it. So now everybody just has to give each other the space and allow them to discover, what it means for them in their journey.
Yeah, I get those students, man. You reminded me of three different things, man, when you were talking. Is that I remember those students. I had a few that went to college and they wanted 18 credit hours immediately, right? They
I'm trying to
wanted
get
18.
on. I'm trying to get on out of here.
I'm trying to get out of 3 years, and although that may be a goal for some students, if you're not careful, that's a strategy for failure.
Right.
Because you are there to go to school and get your academics and get your lesson, as my grandfather would say.
Right.
But but you are there also to learn about yourself, because my major when we was in college was criminal justice.
Right. I
I
remember.
literally can't tell you 10 things about criminal justice right now, right?
Right.
But I learned about myself, like you said, that identity. You learned about yourself, what you will and won't put up with, who you are, how you respond to adversity, what it's like to be broke and have to make something out of nothing. Like
Right.
these are the things and the tools I think that you learn in college, not just kind of whatever program you're into.
Right. You're learning life, and it's hard to sell that to prospective families, right? Like, hey, we want you to pay $20,000 this year for your student to learn about life. And we just know culturally, they're just like, nah, they can learn about life at home. I need them here to get these books. And it's like, okay, well, there's more to it than that, because they're here to get the books, but they're also here to develop some very critical skills that will help them start their careers off. And that's where that adaptability and patience comes back in, because your student isn't going to be a doctor 4 years from now. They're not going to be CEO, of a Fortune 500 company 4 years from now, right? Like, this experience is for them to get started and be able to, again, work that game plan and say, okay, well, although, like you said, you were criminal justice, I was mass comm, right? I was journalism. I wanted to be TV, radio. But then I realized immediately after college, that wasn't where my heart was anymore. And I kind of stumbled into education. But then creating this game plan, working in education, I hadn't left since, because this is where I feel most comfortable. This is where I feel like my gifts and talents are being maximized, and it doesn't feel like work. Like, it feels more like assignment. It feels more like a ministry, so to speak. So
that's exactly how I feel. It's so funny that you said
I
that.
can see it. I can see it, man, because not just the books, but the events and just how you've been able to create hope, for these kids involved, and especially coming where we're coming from. Like, these programs didn't really exist for us, right? We may have, fell into some opportunities, but you being very intentional, man, I tip my hat, to you, because now you're connecting folks to their future and you're giving them hope. So,
I appreciate that. Yeah,
thank you, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So for those who are listening now, he gave us three really good tips to be able to help you transition onto a college campus. All right. So number one was to do your homework, right? Make sure that you are aware of the opportunities and the pitfalls. Do your research, understand what the process is and what you need to do. Number two, you want to create a game plan, right? So now that you know what needs to be done, let's go ahead and strategize a plan to put you in the best position possible for success. And then number three, we have to be patient and you have to be adaptable, right? You have to be fluid, right? Because, for a lot of these college campuses, those financial aid lines get long, right? Those housing lines and applications, they get long. You have to be adaptable to the situation, right? And you have to, give grace when it's needed. So
most definitely.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Turner, for explaining this and dropping these nuggets.
No problem. I know we have a limited time, but I also want to provide people an opportunity to process some things, because I think that's where a lot of parents and families get frustrated, is because they hit a wall and don't know who to talk to. So they can reach me at my email address, which is TERENCE, the letter J, Turner @gmail.com. That's my personal email that I check often, and I'm open to helping people kind of understand what's happening on this side.
Yeah. So for those, again, that email was Terence with one R, Terence J. Turner at gmail.com. Dr. Turner is a wealth of knowledge of what it's like to be on a college campus. If you specifically on an HBCU campus, if you have questions about what it's like to be on campus or needs when your student gets on the campus, Dr. Turner is the resource for you. So I appreciate that. So thank you, Dr. Turner, again. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right. So if you like what you're hearing and you want to learn more, you can visit my website, collegereadiness101.com. You can subscribe to this podcast and YouTube, College Readiness 101. And you can follow me also on my social media platforms, College Readiness 101 on Instagram and Facebook. I'll talk to you next time.